Skyscraper window cleaners of Reddit. What is most bizarre thing you've ever seen on the job? My uncle has been doing this job over 20 years, so I've had a few weird stories off him. A woman filming a porno, a sign on a window asking them to not clean the bathroom window. Obviously not knowing which window was to what room they went about their jobs. The bathroom had skinned rabbits hung up. A hoarder whose windows were slowly being hidden by the years of collections. A famous footballer who was not with his wife. Not long after this the company were asked to sign NDAs. What looked like a murder scene. Uncle reported it, but was later told it was fake blood for a TV show that was filming there. His favorite? A dog breeder. Okay, breeder not the right word. Someone who had 2 litters, and every 4 weeks he went back to clean the building, and got to see the pups growing up. When he went back, and they were roughly 12 weeks, there was 1 pup left. He asked for her, and now he's got a rottie called Holly. This post is exactly what I was looking for. Absolutely. Sex, murder, intrigue, scandal and a happy ending. My grandfather met my grandma while working as a window washer. He put his phone number right up against the glass of her office and hoped she wrote it down. She did and called, and they've been married for 60 years. He must have been a handsome dude. Pretty sure a window washer that does something like that today loses his job, lol. In my opinion, it would fail today simply because of the perceived social class differences between the woman working inside such a building and the man outside washing the windows. One time in college I answered a help wanted ad for a window cleaner. I thought it was going to be one of these high-rise jobs. Instead, when I showed up the interview, it was some methy looking guy in a parking lot. I spent the day with him going from house to house cleaning people's windows. He told me to pretend I was his nephew, and he kept introducing me to customers that way. Then when we were cleaning windows he kept telling me his fantasies of ducking the housewives. It was super weird. Plus, he chewed tobacco, and while driving, would spit the juice between his legs onto the floor of his ratty truck. Then at the end of the day he told me it was just an audition, and tried not to pay me. One of the strangest days of my life. I was 15, could pass for 18 on the job at a heavy construction site, and got told on the Friday payday of my second week by my boss he knew I was 15, and so he didn't have to pay me for busting my ass for him for the past 90 hours of labor, and to get lost, and cry to my mommy and daddy, and he would sue me. When I said I would tell the Department of Labor I got the job through one of their posts, he told me he knew where I lived, and that it would not turn out well. I lived with my parents at 15, of course. I left, told my older brother, got another construction job within a couple of days that didn't pay quite as well, and stayed focused, but still a little angry. The contractors' vehicles all began showing up on the side of the roads all over town, getting towed to all the shops in town with destroyed transmissions and other problems. Their largest crane was basically destroyed, welders, etc. The contractor defaulted on the job due to a total lack of progress on the job, and had liens placed against it. He eventually lost his home, and went through a divorce in the aftermath. 10 years later, after college, my brother confided that when he heard they threatened me and my parents' home, he and some friends had added things to every engine block, transmission, or hydraulic system they could find on the contractor site. Wow, that is blood stuff right there. And the intelligence to keep it secret for a decade. Friend was fresh out of the shower sitting at her computer desk naked when the window cleaners were at her place. She heard a noise, so she turned around to see 2 men outside her 3rd-story window. So she screams and runs into the bathroom to hide. Later she calls the building management to complain, and they tell her that a notice went out and she must not have seen it. Then building management decided to ask the window cleaning service to send those guys to her apartment to knock on the door and apologize to her. Hilariously awkward. Then building management decided to ask the window cleaning service to send those guys to her apartment to knock on the door and apologize to her. Hilariously awkward. Yikes. Sorry we turned up to work on time, chief. It was our bad for doing our contracted job. Nice tits. I'm a window cleaner, but not high rise. The thing I can never understand is when I see lip prints where people have kissed the glass in public buildings. People, if you saw what I clean off of those every week, you would never touch the glass, especially not with your lips. Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, when the glass is super dirty, it's usually grease, old condiments, bird poop, salt from the sidewalks winter in Colorado. And a lot of the time I can't even tell what it is, I just know. Looks and smells bad. On a similar thread, at the Shard in London, it's not uncommon to see forehead imprints on the glass. The building leans in towards its central point, and whenever anyone tries to look down to the ground level, they inevitably end up head-butting the windows. I was visiting my grandparents in a high-rise, looking out their windows a few stories up. As the window cleaners went by, I happily watched them clean, hands folded behind my back, because the windows were a one-way type thing, where they were basically mirrors from the outside in. I knew this because I'd seen the building from the outside. Unbeknownst to me, the level of reflectivity changes pretty drastically depending on the time of day, and I realized that when the window cleaners were going by, they had to wash the windows, while some weirdo me stood about 12 inches from the window watching their form. Well, it could be always worse. You could be standing about 12 inches from the window and masturbating while watching their form. Not me, but my uncle has been doing it for years and had many weird encounters, but this one is kinda sad. Having changed companies, he started at this new apartment building. Near the top there was this old lady with a dog. The dog was young enough and was always excited to see him. Eventually he started talking to this woman when he was working through a small window. They became somewhat friends. Then one day, almost a year on the job, he went up, and for the first time the apartment was empty except for the dog, which he found odd. So when he was finished up, he tried to check and see if she was in, but got no reply. A day later, a member of staff from the apartment block, I think it was the landlord, but can't remember, got back to him and told him that she passed away and that she had no family. Assuming that my uncle knew her, the landlord asked about the dog, seeing if there was anything that could be done. My uncle, being the kind fella he was, took the dog. Nearly 10 years later, my uncle still has the dog, a little terrier named Pumpkin. Yay. Very happy for both of them. I'm not a window cleaner, but a paramedic. We got a call once to a suicidal window cleaner guy once. We could see what was going on as we approached. He was swinging around and doing tricks in between each wipe of the window, like giant swinging leaps and who knows what else. The police had him come down and asked him what he was doing, and he said he just really loves his job. So we told him he needs to be safe and left him to go back to work. Not a skyscraper cleaner, but the person on the other side of the window. I was using a single occupancy restroom on the 22nd floor of a building that had a floor to ceiling glass window along the side of the toilet. Weird, I know. Anyways, I'm taking a wicked crap, and I was wearing a romper, so sitting there in just a bra, with my romper around my ankles, shooting my little heart out. I saw the window washer and was a little startled, but thought the windows were tinted, it was fine. Alas, we accidentally made eye contact as I was standing up to wipe my ass. Clearly tinting does not work up close. Could have died. Maybe he was shocked to see you stand up to wipe. I know it shocked me when I learned that what seems like 50% of the population stands up to wipe. Weirdest. Well, I was washing the outside of the windows at the group home I work at. State was coming by later that week, and I was super bored. I walk up to one of my dude's bedroom windows to wash it off, and apparently he hears me outside somehow, even though he had his radio turned up to about 9,000, like he always does. He rips up his blinds, totes naked, and starts slapping himself repeatedly in the forehead and screaming. This was pretty normal for him, but it's definitely the strangest thing I've ever seen so far in my life while washing a window. What I got was a lot of flirting. I don't know if the pane of glass gave them a sense of safety, or if lots of office chicks are just bored, or if our red overalls were particularly fetching, but something brought out the bachelorette instinct. Notes pressed against the glass, pretend lesbian performances, you name it. Only seemed to happen when there was a group of ladies though. Is it too late to switch careers? Is being a duck lord not as fulfilling as you thought it would be? As it turns out, ducks are shit subjects. They just smoke duckweed all day. I'm not sure why, but while I was working on the 47th floor, the window washers had to open a window. It was like a wind tunnel. Papers were blowing all over the place. Why can you even open that window? I'm not sure. It did require a key to open though. I think they were moving equipment or something. Not a skyscraper window washer, but was a janitor who had to wash the windows in a 6-story building as part of my job, so I used a mix of ladders and rappelling down from the roof with a harness to clean the outside windows. One day I was washing the outside windows on the executive floor where all the bosses and higher up employees had their offices. I was done with one window, so I moved to the next window and looked in and saw the CEO of the company snorting something in his office with the door locked and the lights off. He looked up and saw me in the window and we made an uncomfortable eye contact for about 15 seconds, then I just pretended I saw nothing and kept washing the windows. Never spoke a word about it to him or anyone in the office, but the last day I worked there he gave me a farewell card with $200 in it and a free solar powered portable phone charger that the company produced and sold. I've been a rope access window cleaner for a couple years and have seen my fair share of weirdness. A couple incidents that stick out are a young couple having fun that invited me to join, an apartment in a ritzy building completely empty other than a table with several sheets of freshly printed, uncut $100 bills, a real ass mummy sarcophagus, been offered several joint hits and various adult beverages while hanging off the side of a building. Animals were always my favorite though. Cats and puppies lose their minds seeing you outside their window and will happily chase your mop and squeegee while you work. Always brightened the day. Edit. Another memorable moment was causing a mild panic in the dining room of a local retirement home dementia ward. We felt bad and went as quickly as we could, but the nurses laughing their asses off as they tried to contain the pandemonium made us feel slightly better. Did you join? Unfortunately not. Sex with tenants while on the clock is frowned upon. Opposite side of spectrum. Anytime the cleaners went by we put the weirdest porn we could find up on our giant ducking TV. We would just casually sit there and watch pterodactyls bang some chick as if we were watching the news. Hopefully, it was weird for them. My ex was a high-rise window cleaner and he always talked about the crazy things women did. It seems like the glass gives them a sense of security and they do things that I don't think they'd do if that glass wasn't there. Women flashing and pressing their chests against the glass, mooning and pressing their ass cheeks on the glass, writing their phone numbers and pressing it against the glass. There was one point when we were engaged and he would hold his finger up and point to his ring. He wore an engagement ring to it. Didn't seem to stop some of the women. In fact, it made some of them try harder, he said. He did say the hardest for him were the children's hospitals and when he'd clean the windows of the very sick children. His company did do the dress up as superheroes thing while they cleaned the windows, which made it fun for kids, but he said it was still heartbreaking for them. Okay, so not exactly what Op was asking for, but a funny story nonetheless. I was in medical school on my psychiatry rotation at the local VA hospital. We're in the 6th floor inpatient psych unit seeing a guy with schizoaffective disorder. We were asking him about any hallucinations or delusions he may have been having, and he tells us that he was seeing ropes outside his window and was worried people were trying to get into his room. Seeing that there were clearly no ropes outside his window, we made note of his persistent symptoms and went about our rounds. About half an hour later we get to another patient's room and we suddenly see ropes dropping from the roof down the side of the building. Turns out the poor guy wasn't hallucinating. They were just cleaning the windows, lol. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel for more curated daily Reddit stories.